Good morning. Phillip Davis, Ancestry Lands, ancestrylands.com. How are you, folks? This video comes a little inspiration due to a conversation I had with my son yesterday. And it's to all the young men and women out there. And I'm going to try to give you some advice and wisdom that I've spoken about in many of my other videos. Sometimes you have to wait for things to play out. Sometimes you cannot force things to come before their time. I've had many conversations where I was looking for an outcome to happen. I was looking for, man, these roads are empty. Whew. I was looking for some kind of victory or something to occur that I was looking a goal or something I had in mind to happen when I wanted it to happen. And like all things in life, things happen when they're supposed to happen. In the words of like Kung Fu Panda 2, Master Oogway say there are no coincidences. I don't believe there are coincidences in life. I think things are somehow designed, and it literally comes from me talking to my son, one of my older son, Phillip, about you can't rush things in life. Some things you will be able to manipulate, meaning move, adjust. Some things you will be able to not force, but you'll be able to make it happen quicker, or you can make it happen ahead of its time. But the things that are supposed to happen will happen in their due time. And building a business, I've had businesses that I started when I was younger, and they were successful, but they weren't as successful as the business I have now. And the reason being, it wasn't the time, but it gave me preparation, which leads me into the next part. And I'm going to explain how sometimes things don't happen in their due time. Me talking about my nursing test, when I did not pass my NCLEX, when I look at my life and where I'm at now, me not passing my NCLEX, failing the NCLEX, if you want to say, because I didn't pass is to fail, that failure led to me being at the point where I am now. If I had passed, I don't think I would be a landowner. If I had passed my test on the first try, I would not have my children. I would not be this person that exists in front of you now. I'd be a completely different person, but still the same Phillip. My trajectory in life would have went in a different way. Good or bad, I don't know. But we only know what is what we do know. What could be is all unforeseen, and that's just, the coulda, woulda, shoulda thing. But again, when I look at it from a grander point of me taking 2 years, it led to me starting out on the journey, which led me to go west, to seek out employment at Phoenix Children's Hospital, which I worked at before, and then to move on to eventually meeting my wife because of the economy, the way things happen, and me making adjustments. And that led me to where I have my 3 beautiful children now. That I'm very happy that I have those children. It led to where I have a daughter who skipped and a son who skipped as well, a grade. Where my parenting style is to my kids' satisfaction, even though I do discipline my children. My kids are happy with the level of discipline that I instill into them and I administer to them. And I am a disciplinarian with my children. It's led me to the point where I've been able to provide land ownership to multitudes of people, changing their lives, bringing them opportunity. Because I'm offering something of value. Yes, I'm selling it, but I'm offering something of value, an extreme value. The goodness from what I do is being able to offer that at a way that allows people to afford it, in which they could not do it conventionally. And that is where it goes beyond me being a seller to me moving into being a good person, providing an avenue for people to own land. The ownership is true, but the method of ownership is a little unconventional because it doesn't require a bank. It doesn't require credit. It doesn't require interest being tacked on to that loan of ownership. It allows them to be able to afford something they otherwise could not. In the meanwhile, like I say about things happening in their own time, meeting my wife happened in its own time. It happened at a time when I was not looking for or searching for a mate. And believe me, in my younger years, I was on the hunt for looking for a mate, a person to be with, to be in a relationship. I would seek that out. And I met my wife at a time where I was not seeking. And that does not mean that you do not seek what ye are trying to find. It just means that things sometimes come at their own time, like I've said. And what needs to happen in that time is your preparation. You know, buying a home right now is not the right time for me. But that does not mean that I'm not preparing for it if the time or when the time comes. Right now, my situation is pretty steady, but I'm also preparing for the time that things get rocky. I'm preparing for the time that my child goes to college by saving money, putting money away, and making sure that I'm financially well, I have financial reserves. I don't want to say well off because that could be a little subjective in that standpoint. I'm making sure that in my marriage, in my finances, that I'm staying competitive financially to stay ahead of the inflation that is just eating away at our dollars now. Something that my wife can truly see, and I don't have to have that argument. When your wife or girlfriend or the person you're with understands and truly gets it, when they finally get that the world is not their friend, the world is their enemy, and you are the one in their corner trying to really protect them from it, they stop the squabbling about things that don't really matter. They understand the large amount of weight that you're lifting and holding to keep the foundation, the house, stable. They understand just how well of a foundation you are for that family. But again, that takes time. They have to be able to see that your wisdom is great because of your preparation. And that preparation is because you're waiting for the outcome to come. Like me noticing that prices are going down in my market, real estate market now, by constantly watching the market and seeing how things going. Yes, the rates are sucky, but the price, the rate that I'm paying for a price is not high. And my affordability, what I can afford, is because, again, my credit is still good. And the money, the down payment that I could pay now versus later or earlier, when people were suggesting that I buy a home, the money I could pay as a down payment now is much more substantial. And it's not just about the down payment, the after effect of that financial down payment, meaning the money that I have after that, after I pay that, I would still be able to live comfortably. But the point is not to struggle while living. I don't want to live in a house where everything's going to be about the house and the mortgage, and every time my kid wants to be a kid and spend something, I'm yelling at them because I'm prioritizing a mortgage instead of life. That's what the older generation is not understanding about this younger generation that I'm starting, that I have an idea of why they're bucking at the system, because again, the system is not aimed at you living life. It always tacks on a bill, a debt, and you have to slave away for it, and you don't get to experience the world and the things that you can enjoy with it. You know, and the key thing is, like, when I was younger, my dad used to take me fishing a lot. When I got older, going fishing happened less and less. But we had a bigger house. We had this great big house and everything else. Could you get off your damn phone, dude? God, geez, man. People in the morning time, man. Like, I told my son this yesterday. When it's a holiday, today's July 5th. When it's a holiday, that's the worst time when there's literally no cars out, that's the worst time to be driving. Because people don't pay attention, they lollygag. When it's busy, people's mindset they're busy. They're more focused. When it's not like that, people tend to just drive crazy. I was sitting here at a 4th of July parade, and let me move this over real quick. Sitting at a 4th of July parade, right? And this person just stops right in the middle of the road because they're looking whether to go right or left. Like, when do you go down a busy street and just stop right in the middle because you can't decide whether you're going right and left? Like, there are no cars behind you. Like, none of these other cars are driving right behind you. But again, like I said, I'm going to go back to that, is that you don't want to have your life be crunched up, your spouse unhappy, because now you're in a situation where you could not prepare for all the other things that go along with the decision that you've made. You want something in life. You want to have a nice house. You want to have a nice car. You want to have a Lamborghini. But the cost and maintenance of a Lamborghini, once you get to the initial purchase, everything after maintaining that Lamborghini, you have to be able to afford. And the thing about it is that you have to be able to not let people get into, you should have stuff. Well, you're married, wife and kids, this and that, and you should have this because that's just the way it is. Well, if that's just the way it is, then why are people going into debt? Why are people going into foreclosure? Because that's just the way it is, right? Not everyone has the financial capabilities to just manifest an outcome. You have to wait, and it takes time. Yeah, I didn't have children in my 20s. I had them in my mid to late 30s, and hell, even in my early 40s. But that is not going to stop me from trying to accomplish my goals just because people think that because I'm married, 43, and I have a family, I should automatically have X, Y, and Z. Yeah, I explained to my son that, unlike the other people in my family, I moved around a lot. I traveled a lot. I lived in different states a lot. I didn't want to settle into a state because I was never sure if I was going to live there. Even this state now, we didn't move to this state thinking that from California to Pennsylvania, we didn't move to this state thinking that, hey, this is where we're going to live. This is just us getting down to the East Coast. And over a few years, we decided, hey, okay, we really like this place. And then things got expensive. We got caught in the same thing that everyone else got caught into, which is the economy, inflation, the pandemic, and all of the other things like that. We could not help getting caught up in what everyone else got caught up in. And I'm a nurse. I don't make millions and millions of dollars. As a small business owner, I don't come from a wealthy family. I didn't come from where, like Donald Trump, my dad gave me, $1 million to start off with. I didn't have that start, but I had the expectations that I was supposed to manifest it despite no one putting in to help out on that. And I'm not talking about you borrowing money from someone and then paying them back with interest and them saying, hey, I helped you out here. I'm talking about Donald Trump. His father gave him $1 million and said, keep it, do well with it, and you should be able to get a running start. That's a hell of a start to get to say, hey, let me go. And it's not just that. Jeff Bezos' families gave them $500,000. Many of the people who are successful today, their parents invested in them without the promise of getting something back. What ended up happening was they were sure about that investment and they knew they were going to get something back. They didn't think that Jeff Bezos or Donald Trump, and I use them as just placeholder examples. These are people who did not need to. They're people who invested in them were sure they were going to get something back in the long term. Their back end was going to be taken care of. They weren't worried about whether it was going to be. They had faith in their ability. And what they understood was that this person prepares. What you got to understand in life is that while things are coming along and they're going to happen on their own time, it's your job to prepare for it. You can't wait on the economy to get better to fix your credit. You got to do it now. I couldn't wait on whether the land business was going to sell more property when real estate market was turning. I flipped to getting into going back to a 9-to-5 nursing. And that was to cut out expenses that I could mitigate. like health insurance, which is a big expense. So now, instead of me losing profit because my land business, and I love my land business, I love land ownership gave me time with my children that a 9-to-5 could never do. I was able to afford insurance, and I was able to afford the same place I live in now at the same money amount, and add on to not just 2 kids, 3 kids. I was able to do that while still owning land and selling land. I was able to do it. I was able to become an author because of land ownership. That's what it brought me. What I'm telling you is land ownership can do the same thing for you. But again, I took time and prepared. And things happened when they were supposed to happen. But what made it happen successfully was my preparation. It wasn't just that. I was able to bring opportunities and my skills. People saw what I was doing and they were able to implement things based upon what I learned. And where I got to now, I know people always try to take credit for it, but the reason why my business is able to be where I'm at now is simply because I was preparing and doing the work that others cannot see. I didn't need to borrow and I was in debt. I borrowed when I had money and I just needed cushion. And when I say borrow, it was in case of. It wasn't because I'm in need of. I've had every bit of sideswiping happen while I've been a father and a land investor, a land owner, traveling in California. I've had my Achilles, tore my Achilles last summer. Didn't have benefits, had to pay out of pocket for all those surgeries and everything else. And when people come to help you, they help you with ill intent. They do. You know, it's not like you're homeless and you're begging for $1. You're a person that's progressing, doing it, and then life comes and hits you at left, and people say, why don't you got more than what you got? Like you're not doing it. You can be open and honest. You can show everyone your finances and they'll look at it and say, well, you should still go forward, knowing that it will end in disaster for you because they have ill intent. So what I'm going to tell you folks is that you need to make sure that you're preparing for the success that you want. You need to make sure that you are working and preparing yourself for the outcome that you're looking for. You want to pass a test, you want to get a degree, you got to prepare yourself to be an excellent student, because getting the degree does not mean that you do not need the base knowledge to operate once you get that degree. On-the-job training is great, but you're still your base function. Do you do research? Your base function of who you are will always come to play even in that job. Do you pass the buck or do you take the ball and run with it? Those things are going to matter. I could go on and on about this, but again, what I want to tell you all, and I'll leave these 3 points. Remember, things will happen when they're supposed to happen. Your job is to prepare for the time that when it happens, you're ready. Be ready. And you're ready by doing the work, doing the math, taking inventory, and fixing problems while you have the problems, not waiting for disaster to come to fix them. I'm going to leave you with that, folks. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'm your host, Phillip Davis. Ancestrylands.com is where you go to get property. A link below in the description section is to my book, Getting Dollars from Dirt, A Beginner's Guide to Vacant Land Investing, where you can go and learn about how to prepare yourself for a time that's coming. Remember, folks, Ancestrylands.com is where you go to get property. Make sure you like and share. Leave a comment in the video. If you've been inspired, leave the word inspired down in the video. And remember, folks, either own property or be owned as property. Phillip Davis, Ancestry Lands. I'm your host. Take care, and I'm out. Peace.